of you have heard about famous criminal cases like the Zodiac Killer or the murder of John Bennett. Isn't it curious how even with the pass of the years, nobody has been able to solve one of these cases? That's what we talk to you about today. About 1/3 murders in the United States go unsolved according to a segment in the National Public Radio. The national clearance rate for murders, which means the case ends in an arrest, is 64.1% according to the FBI. 5 decades ago was above 90%. These statistics mean that 200,000 murders have gone unsolved since 1960. Today, I will give you a little bit of information about cold cases and 2 of these famous felonies, and by the end of the speech, you will be able to know about this type of crimes and you will have your own conclusions. Now that I have given you an idea about what I will be speaking about, I will give you information about cold cases. They are criminal investigations that had stopped being actively pursued because of lack of evidence. They can be violent or other major felonies such as murder or rape. These cases become closed when they think they are solved. They can be reopened when they find new evidence pointing away the original suspect. It is considered unsolved until a suspect has been identified. An officer becomes so focused on an individual, so this results in the elimination of other suspects that should be investigated. Now that you know about cold cases, I will tell you my first case, the Zodiac Killer. He was a serial killer operating in Northern California in the late 60s and early 70s. He had 4 attacks confirmed by the police. He had 7 victims, but only 2 of them got the luck to survive. His weapons were guns and knives. The first victim described him as a young man between 27 and 30 years old, light brown hair, and about 5'8". The second victim didn't have a clear image of this person because he was wearing an executed hoodie with a symbol of the zodiac on his chest, but he said that it was a heavy man about 5'8". When the first attack happened, a girl got the chance to see the killer, and she said it was a white man about 5'8", brown hair with glasses. The police got quickly to the scene, but they committed an extremely error to say that the suspect was an African American. The police saw this man that the girl described, but they left him alone because he wasn't black. The Zodiac is known because of the letters that he sent to the police station. The first one was sent in the year 1969. He sent 3 different letters with identical handwriting, and they were signed with a circle with a cross through it. That letter is known as the Zodiac Killer sign. Also include 3 different codes. The code was cracked by a couple, and he said that he enjoyed killing people because he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. The suspects here are Arthur Lee Allen and Lawrence Kane. When the 3rd attack happened, Arthur told his family he was scuba diving, but he came covered of blood with bloody knife in his car. Also, a friend of him said that he referred at himself as the Zodiac even before the killer did, and said that Arthur was planning to hunt people with a flashlight and a gun. The police searched his house, but they didn't find direct evidence with the murder. In 1974, he got arrested, and that's the year when the letters stopped. In 1991, one of the victims that survived said that Arthur was the guy who shot him, but the police didn't conclude that he was a serial killer because he didn't match with the evidence. Lawrence Kane got in a car accident in 1962 with the result of brain damage and changes of behaviors. One of the victims, Darlene Ferrin, had a sister, and she claimed that Kane followed her months before her murder. Also, one of the police that was in the 4th attack said that Kane is the only man with the characteristic of the guy he saw. But again, the policeman said that he wasn't the Zodiac Killer because of the evidence. Now that you know about the cold cases and the Zodiac Killer, I will tell you about the murder of the pageant queen John Bennett. She got killed in December 26, 1996. Patsy Ramsey called the police saying that her 6-year-old daughter was missing. The only people in the house were John, Patsy, and Bert Ramsey. Her body was found 8 hours later by her dad in their basement. She had duct tape on her mouth and a smooth cord around her neck. This scene crime was heavily compromised because of the people who were arriving. The police didn't search in the house because they didn't believe that it was the reason she wasn't there. The autopsy said that she died of asphyxiation by being strangled. Also, they found DNA in her underwear, but this evidence didn't identify a man. The ransom note was written with paper and pen from the house. The suspects here are the Ransom family. People said that they killed her by an accident and they covered the crime with the ransom note. The second one is Big Man Reynolds. He was an old man who dresses in Santa Claus, and he said that young Manette made a profound change in him. But after that, the police claimed him as an old nice man. The third one is Gary Oliva. He lived a few blocks away from the Ramsey, and he got arrested in 2000 because of drug possession. And the police found a picture of this little girl in his bag, but his DNA didn't match with the one they had. And the last one is John Mark. He became a suspect 10 years later because he confessed via an email that he was in love with the little girl and that he hit her with a flashlight. The police studied his DNA and they found that they didn't match with the one they had. So he said that he didn't work alone, and the police interviewed him, and he said, and his confession didn't match with the crime. Also, they have evidence that he wasn't in Colorado the time that happened. The CBA's program studied the DNA found in their underwear, and they said it might have help from the manufacture process, so they conclude that all these suspects could be the killer. So now that we hear about these famous cases, we keep in mind that a cold case can be reopened every time they find a new evidence. The studied killer identity is still unknown and could be more than one person, and the murderer of John Bennett still missing and might be even dead. So every time you hear someone or see on the TV one of these cases, you can conclude your own theories. Thank you.